Oh. I'm having another class now. So let's do it tomorrow. Okay, so we're gonna be starting at the top of the hour. This is 6:56. At sharp 7 we'll be starting. Okay, we're almost there. Yeah, please put your speaker on mute while you join. Okay, so today we're going to be starting out our economics class. We're not going to be going too far because we realize that students are still joining. Okay, economics, what is economics? Economics has been defined by several authors and very popular people, but the definition of economics that we are using the generally accepted is the one given by Professor Lord Leonard Robbins, and he actually defined economics as the science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means which have alternative uses. So this is the definition of economics that everybody is supposed to know about, because this is the most, we have other definitions, but this one done by Leonard Robbins is encompassing everything that you need to know about economics. And such words are words like ends, scarce means, and alternative uses. So these are very, very important words. And when they come together to form a definition, it's a very powerful definition. And that's why we note that the definition of economics is the one given by Professor Leonard Robbins. And he defined economics as a science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means which have alternative uses. So as we move forward, we are going to be understanding what ends and scarce means, and also what alternative uses are. Now we look at the basic concepts in economics. What are those words that you're supposed to know their meaning? What are those concepts that you're supposed to understand in order for you to have a better understanding of what economics is? Number one is wants. When we say want, what do we mean by want? Want is defined as those insatiable desires, those things that you always want. Like you want jewelries, you want good clothes, you want luxurious cars, all those things that are known as want. They are insatiable. You cannot satisfy them. Even if they buy you latest Range Rover Sport, tomorrow you say you want Cadillac. So wants are those things that you always want, you're never satisfied about them.
Sir? Okay, sir.
Luashe, please put your recorder on mute, your voice on mute.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So wants are those needs, those insatiable desires or needs by human beings to own goods and services that give them satisfaction. Then number two is scarcity. When you hear the word scarce, what does it mean? Scarcity simply means limited in supply. When you say that something is scarce, when you say that this bottle of water is scarce, that means you cannot easily see it. It is limited. That's why when we say fuel scarcity, simply means that fuel is not everywhere. It is the amount of fuel in the market is limited. It's not everywhere. That means it is scarce. So when something is limited, is available in a small quantity, we call it scarcity. So you're going to find out that most things are very scarce. Most resources that you use in satisfying your wants, they are scarce. Those resources, like the money that you make from your work, they are very limited. You cannot have as much as you want. And that's why you need to be able to choose the wants that are more important. And that's where you bring about scale of preference, opportunity cost, and choice. So let's move to the next concept of choice. Choice is simply a system of selecting or choosing one out of a number of alternatives. So because the resources that you use in satisfying your wants are limited, you need to choose the ones to satisfy at a time. So let's say your wants are that you need a book as a student, you need biro, you also need calculator, and you just have only 100 naira. What are you going to choose over the other? You see that, first of all, you need a book and a pen, because those are the most important wants as a student. You need to get those ones first before you start talking about calculator, before you start talking about a new shoe. So you need to be able to choose the one you get first, and that is why you will learn about choice. So you have to select the ones that are more important. Then we'll talk about opportunity cost, which is the expression of cost in terms of forgone alternative. Those things that you left in order for you to do the ones that your money can afford are known as the opportunity cost. And finally, production is aimed at creating goods and services and also distributing them to the final consumer. Okay, so these are the basic concepts in economics. You need to know them before you move forward. And that brings us to the second thing, which is economic problems. So economic problems. And JAMB is going to ask you, WAEC is going to ask you in your normal economics WAEC, which of the following is not one of the three economic problems? You know, you have the problem of what to produce, for whom to produce, how to produce, all those problems. So you need to know them, how to produce and for whom to produce. Those are the three basic economic problems, and you need to know them. So economic problems are those problems people meet in the society while attempting to satisfy their numerous wants with the limited resources available to them. So what are these economic problems? Number one is what to produce. So if you're somebody that you want to open up a factory, want to solve your financial needs. So first of all, you're going to ask yourself, what do I produce that people want to buy? So that's the number one economic problem, what to produce. This question is one of the economic problems that confront any society. This problem arises mainly as a result of the fact that human wants are unlimited relative to their available resources. So you need to ask yourself, what do I produce? And there are factors that determine what you produce. You have to check if I'm producing water, the consumers, do they need water? You have to produce what the consumers want. So in order to answer your question of what to produce, ask yourself, what and what do my consumers in? Like me here, I'm staying in Gwagwalada, very close to the university, the campus. So when I came here to set up a business, I asked myself, what kind of business will I set up that people in Gwagwalada, that they are living here and they are very close to the school environment, what kind of businesses do they? I know that they like cafe work because they are students, they normally come, print and all. So what I'm producing or the services I'm rendering has to relate to what my consumers want. Number two, market demand. Market demand simply stands for what they are demanding for, which is also similar to what their needs are. Then number three is their consumer income. Do they have enough money to afford my services? I started up in Gwagwalada as a cafe owner. Then as the town is developing and I'm seeing that people are getting more money, I started rendering the services of educational technology and software development because they could afford that. Then another thing is cost of production. Here in Gwagwalada, producing educational materials is relatively cheap compared to what I would have spent if my office is in town. So in answering my question of what to produce, I need to check all this in order for me to make accurate judgments. So the second problem in economics is how to produce. So how do I go about rendering these services? Having chosen that the service I want to render is to do cafe work that students can get into or render software development that people in the school community want to have. How do I go about rendering these services? How do I produce these services or how do I produce these goods? So as soon as what to produce is established, another basic economic problem that arises is how to produce the goods and services. So the factors that determine how I go about producing what I'm producing here or rendering the kind of services I'm rendering are, number one, the technique of production. So if what I'm rendering, the service or what I'm producing has only one way of producing, that means I have to use that way. But if it has alternative way, I have to seek for the way that is cheaper. So number two factor is technological advancement. And number three is the production function. And finally, another problem that we have about another economic problem will be for whom to produce. So having established what I want to produce and how I'll go about producing it. Now, for who do I produce? So in Google, am I producing strictly for the students or for the community or for the lecturers? So who am I targeting? So all goods and services produced must get to the final consumer. production is not complete until the goods and services get to the final consumers. Now, factors that determine whom to produce: one, satisfaction of wants. So who am I able to satisfy? So the kind of services I'm rendering, who am I best fitted to serve? Is it the lecturers? Is it the community where I'm staying in Gogolada, or the students? Number two, level of income. So the services I'm rendering, what kind of people can buy it? What kind of people can afford it? So that will determine whom I should produce for. So if you are doing software development that only rich people can afford, the students, can they afford them? So you have to check. And then type of economic system, very, very important. Whether you're running is a type of economic system that enables you to do whatever you want, like in capitalism. So it also comes handy in determining what to produce. And that is where we're going to be stopping. So in subsequent classes, we are going to be looking at economic systems. I don't want to go too far. By next week, we are going to be in full-fledged force. So by then, JAMB registration must have started and everybody must have joined properly. I think some people are writing mock now. So with that, we'll be able to move faster. We don't want to move too fast and cover so much and leave other people behind. Okay, that's where I'm going to be stopping. See you when I see you. Thank you. God bless.